Hello Neighbor. I'm gonna be honest, talking about this game makes me sad. Hello Neighbor started with a unique concept, a realistic art style, and an eerie atmosphere shrouded in a mystery involving the golden calf, fallen angels, and a book about a guy selling his soul to the devil. But as you all know, it unfortunately ended up turning into a family-friendly parkour game with the most confusing puzzles and wacky art style that makes you feel like you're a part of the circus from Alpha 1. As someone who is a fan of this game since the pre-alpha was released, I can go on and on about how Hello Neighbor was a disappointment and a far cry from its original concept. But there are already two great videos by Postura and Wicked Wiz that cover that exact topic, so check those out if you want a deep analysis of what went wrong. What I want to focus on is games and mods that try to recapture that look and feel of those early builds, and to trick myself into thinking this is a universe where Hello Neighbor is a good game. This is going to be a mini-series split into 3 episodes covering recreations, mods for the full version of the game, and completely custom fan games. I originally wanted to make it all one video, but it'd be like an hour long if I were to go into detail with every single game, so I figure it's best just to give myself some wiggle room by only focusing on 4 games for this video. And what better way to start this series than with the versions of Hello Neighbor that were never publicly released. All the downloads to these games will be linked in the description so you can experience them for yourself. So grab your golden calf bugs and let's go say hello to our neighbor. Jesus, that was cheesy as fuck. Oh my God. Let's start off with the AI Rundown mod by Kokosco. Everybody remembers the AI Rundown video that TinyBuild released a long-ass time ago that featured a different version of the pre-alpha than the one that was publicly available. And almost everyone who has seen that video wished that the pre-alpha was more like how it was portrayed in that video. Well, wish no more. This mod improves the lighting a ton and even adds some unused sound effects taken from the prototype. And that's pretty much it. Items still don't make sounds when thrown, unfortunately, and the neighbor still lacks look-around animation. And most importantly, the doorbell has sadly been removed. To be completely honest, this is more of a novelty than anything, since it's pretty much the same pre-alpha, just with some minor changes. While the gameplay is pretty much identical, it's still fun to run around and replay the pre-alpha with some new additions to make the experience better. Although this is still the pre-alpha, so expect it to crash occasionally. Also, as a side note, I can only really get this game to run well on my laptop, so if you have frame rate issues, then it's not just you, it's a problem with the game itself. As far as I know, there isn't anything you can do to fix it since it seems hardware dependent. As far as the game itself goes, I don't have too much else to say about it. What I do want to talk a bit about is this whack-ass bug I discovered while playing this game one night, and when I respawned back at my house, I noticed multiple things were not correct. The neighbor was immediately chasing me, and I noticed that the car had the tire off and it was jacked up, but the tire was also still attached. And when I saw the neighbor open the front door to his house to chase me, I noticed that a door leading to the kitchen had appeared. After I lost the neighbor, I got him stuck and started recording. Somehow, some way, the game had combined all the house variations into one. The fridge was both blocking this door and in its normal place. The couch was here, as well as the chair that replaces the couch in one of the variations, and the wardrobe was there as well, causing it to clip inside the sofa. The neighbor had 2 beds in his bedroom, and a wardrobe was clipping inside of one of them. The basement had 2 doors, one of which could only ever be cracked open. The kitchen had a door leading to it, which only appears in the intro section. 2 cameras here, the window here is both in place and not in place. The furniture here is clipping through a door that's already blocked by a wardrobe. As you can see, I don't think this is normal. Now, I've spent more time talking about this bug than the game itself, so let's move on before I yap about it anymore. With that neat little game out of the way, let's talk about something that might be more of interest. Which is, of course, the infamous prototype build shown off in the announcement trailer. Being by far the most well-known unreleased build of Hello Neighbor, this also happens to be the build people begged TinyBuild to release publicly so we can play it for ourselves, which realistically will never happen. The gameplay shown in this trailer was supposedly scripted as all hell, which makes sense when you're showcasing a trailer for the gameplay. Luckily, we don't have to beg TinyBuild for the game when we have this amazing recreation made by Golden Skies. Now, I'm gonna be dead honest with you here, recreating the trailer one-to-one is impossible to do in this game. I spent an hour playing, trying my best to get an accurate playthrough of the trailer to no avail. The neighbor's sightline is incredibly inconsistent, which leads to him seeing you in situations where he shouldn't be able to, and him not seeing you when he obviously should. But don't leave thinking this game is bad. Trust me, it's not. If you do play this game, I don't really think you're meant to play it exactly as in the trailer. I think they want you to mess around in it and discover new ways to play it. This is the closest we'll ever get to the Kickstarter version of Hello Neighbor, unless these ever get finished. But I think it's time I show you my best attempt at recreating the trailer. Nah, I'm just kidding. Here's my actual best attempt.
Ah, son of Jesus! Fuck!
So, as you can see, yeah, you can only get to the part where you get the hammer before the neighbor is guaranteed to see you. Even if you can't play the trailer exactly, though, everything else here is damn near perfect. The lighting, the sounds, the effects, it's all beautifully done. My main issues are, of course, the neighbor's sightlines being incredibly inconsistent, and due to the house being so small, it's hard to lose the neighbor. But it is possible. Also, sometimes the neighbor just flat out ignores the tomatoes. It seems to happen if you throw a tomato at the window while he's changing between animations, but I'm not entirely sure. Speaking of animations, the neighbor has 3 new idle tasks that were unused in the original game, those being using the microwave, eating, and inspecting a painting. His old running animation from the trailer also returns here in a really cool way. When he's far away from you, he just runs like normal, but as he gets closer to you, he reaches his arms out to grab you. There's no basement here, which is a given since it's a prototype, and instead what you get for unlocking the door is this text on the bottom of the screen that just says, "Well done," as well as the green light from the pre-alpha. Pretty unspectacular, if I'm being honest. This game isn't meant to be a full game, however, it's only supposed to be a recreation of the prototype, which it does pretty well. It's by far the best recreation of it out there. I kid you not when I say this could pass as an actual pre-alpha for Hello Neighbor, it's that level of quality. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this game, but there's a feature added here that makes me love it even more. One of the features shown off in the trailer is the ability to pull furniture, and guess what? It's been added here. Press E on a multitude of things and you can drag them. This drawer, this wardrobe, this sofa, the fridge, even the fucking dinner table. This wardrobe can't be moved though, probably because you're meant to hide in it akin to the trailer, but it could just be a bug. Now, you might be asking, what benefit does moving furniture give you? Now, if you recall back to the DevGAMM, you'll remember the player grabbed the table and blocked the door with it. I happen to remember this while I was playing and decided to test it. To my surprise, it actually works. Blocking doors with furniture here really made me wish it was in the final game because that adds a whole new level to the gameplay loop. The ability to block doors with chairs is noticeably absent here. In place of it, we have the ability to block doors with furniture as well as the latch on the back door. I'm not sure if this stands true in the actual prototype, but it makes me think that originally chairs were never meant to be used to block doors and instead we were going to have furniture and the aforementioned latch. But maybe it was too buggy or they couldn't figure out a way to implement it properly or they couldn't balance it. So they decided just to axe it entirely and replace it with the chairs. I managed to lock the neighbor outside of his house for a while and have free reign to do whatever I wanted. As a side note as well, I really love the sound that plays here when the neighbor passes you without seeing you. And the sound that plays when the neighbor loses you. I don't know why, I just love the sounds in this build. Now, I did say that this is the most accurate prototype remake. Well, they forgot something. Something incredibly important that makes this game absolutely unplayable. They forgot to put the 2 plates in the room with the hammer. Literal, unplayable garbage. Seriously though, check this game out. It's the best recreation of the prototype out there, and as small as it is, it's still fun to mess around in. Now, after the prototype, what is the second most well-known unreleased Hello Neighbor build? 10 points if you can figure it out. That build would of course be Alpha 1.5, the build that later became Alpha 2. I'm gonna be honest here, I didn't even know a good recreation of this game existed. I was on YouTube, and since I've been searching for mods and games for this video, I've been watching a lot of Hello Neighbor videos recently. So, I got a video in my recommended for a teaser for Beta 1.2 of this game. I checked it out, not expecting much, and to my surprise, it looked really fucking good. Most Alpha 1.5 recreations are either complete shit or looked promising and haven't been updated in like 5 years. Alpha 1.5 is the most infamous Lost Hello Neighbor build right after the prototype, so I didn't think it was fair we had recreations of everything else besides Alpha 1.5. This recreation made by DevGAMM is by far the best one I've seen. It's even got the basement chase at the end, the part most people were disappointed wasn't in Alpha 2. The console is here too, so after you get done marveling at an ancient Hello Neighbor relic from Stone Ages, you can fuck around and see how much you can do before you break the game.
Alright, I'm not sure what happened. I just started deleting the neighbor's house because I was just gonna like delete it and then leave. But I don't know what I deleted, but somehow I managed to delete all the vegetation. So, yeah.
Let's quickly go over the game and compare it to the actual gameplay of Alpha 1.5 and see how similar it is. Honestly, being able to play this build really makes you realize how unfinished Alpha 1.5 was compared to Alpha 2. This is kind of off topic, but something I found out recently is that the early gameplay of Alpha 2 was taken before the pre-alpha was even made public. I don't know if this is common knowledge, but I always thought that due to the mass attention the game got when the pre-alpha came out, they changed the art style to make it more appealing to a younger audience. But no. Hello Neighbor's art style change was already decided before people even knew or cared about the game. Hello Neighbor was doomed as soon as TinyBuild hopped on board. Lord only knows why they decided to change the art style, but given TinyBuild published the game and had control over the direction of its development, it goes without saying that TinyBuild were definitely the ones that made that decision. Sorry, I got carried away there. Enough ranting about TinyBuild, for now. The neighbor's AI here is pretty simple. The neighbor from the pre-alpha has returned, and he mostly just sits on his ass watching TV. Although his idle mode is pretty uninteresting, something I like about the neighbor's AI here is how he goes in and out of hunt mode. If he figures out you're in his house, he'll search around. Then, after he checks all the spots he thinks you might be, he goes back into idle mode and heads back to his couch. I much prefer this over the neighbor always being in hunt mode because it makes way more sense for him to lose interest after he realizes, or believes, that you're no longer in the house. The way to get in the basement here is relatively easy, easier than even Alpha 2. The staircase is always open here, making it easier to get the magnet gun, and in turn easier to get the lockpick. I'm not even sure why the staircase is blocked off here. It really feels like they just added it to add an unnecessary puzzle. The fireworks can be used to stun the neighbor, which is absent from Alpha 2 for some reason. Little pro tip, by the way, don't use the lockpick on the shed. You can get the wrench, but it doesn't work at all. If the lockpick happens to fall through the ground, use the magnet to get the red key off the neighbor, or if you don't feel like doing all that, just summon a new one. Once you get in the basement, the chase scene commences, playing out just like Alpha 1.5, ending the same way as well. After you hide under this bed, you follow the neighbor into a locked door, and it ends. I'm not sure if the developer is planning to add a custom ending, or if they just want to stick with the door sound and cut to black, but either way, this game is an awesome recreation of the Alpha 2 we should have gotten. I would hope it would be a bit more polished than Alpha 1.5. It was an unfinished version, so of course it was rough around the edges, but it would have been really cool to have to play for ourselves. The closest we'll ever have is this recreation, which has slipped under the radar for as good as it is. The prototype build recreation is well known within the Hello Neighbor community, but this one has somehow gone underappreciated. I highly recommend checking it out because there's some fun to be had with it. Remember how I mentioned the DevGAMM? Well, a man named Zorgo33 decided to remake that as well. Here it's actually different from the main animation. Unlike the prototype game by Golden Skies, this isn't a direct recreation, which honestly is a good thing. The original DevGAMM animation was just there to give an idea for concepts of what the game could be like. It wasn't a playable game, it was an animation made in Blender just to show off the idea. You can't perfectly reenact the DevGAMM animation, but that doesn't matter, because here you actually have an objective. Your goal is to sneak in, take a red cube, and bring it back home. Although this game is fairly short, it's still a cool recreation nonetheless. The neighbor has an idle animation, and he's gritting his teeth for some reason. Very creepy stuff. The lawnmower scene is an animation rather than something you do on your own, which is kind of sad. Same goes for the table upstairs. Also, the hand looks slightly different here. Of course, none of this stuff really matters, but if I'm comparing it to the actual DevGAMM, then it's worth mentioning. There's also a high optimization mode, which makes the game look indistinguishable from the animation. There's apparently a lot of secrets in this game as well, but I'll let you find those yourself. And that's the last game I have for you all today. Playing all these really made me wish this was the Hello Neighbor we got. When I first saw gameplay of Hello Neighbor back in 2016, I really hoped it would blossom into something great. It's a shame that we'll never get a fully completed build of Hello Neighbor the way it was meant to be enjoyed. The game evolved into something it was never meant to be, focusing more on the house and the puzzle aspect than the neighbor and his AI. All we have left now are the pre-alpha, alpha 1, and the various recreations of builds before the game headed towards its demise. Maybe one day, a long time from now, somebody will recreate a full version of Hello Neighbor as it originally was, Bible references and all. Now, this is where we part ways, I'm afraid. Well, at least until the next video where I cover mods for the full build of the game. Although modding Hello Neighbor will never bring it back to its golden days, it's still cool to see people bring back the old art style and reimagine Hello Neighbor in unique ways. I hope you all enjoyed this different style of video. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and sorry for my voice, I'm just getting over a cold, so I kinda sound like shit right now. Let me know if you enjoyed this style of video, keep an eye out for the next video, and subscribe for more random ass videos that have no correlation with one another. I'm heading out, y'all. Keep it real, and have a good day. Or night.